20 years ago, my life had collapsed around me. I'd worked myself into exhaustion. My father died suddenly, and my relationships were in turmoil. Little did I know at the time, out of my greatest despair was to come the greatest gift. I'd been given a glimpse of a great secret. I began tracing the secret back through history. I couldn't believe all the people who knew this. They were the greatest people in history. All I wanted to do was share the secret with the world. I began searching for people alive today who know the secret. One by one, they began to emerge.
This is the great secret of life.
Wow. Right? My goodness, 20 years ago. Goodness me. Well, it was 20 years ago that I discovered the secret. It wasn't 20 years ago that we made the film. So, but hello, everybody. And that trailer was the HD version remastered of The Secret, and you can get that on thesecret.tv. It still gives me goosebumps today. I don't know if it gives you guys goosebumps too, but thank you everyone for joining me on this live today. I'm going to share with you the events that took place on the night I discovered The Secret. It was 20 years ago in 2004 on September the 9th. That I woke up on that morning and had no idea what lay ahead for me that day. I was destined to never be the same again in the best way possible. We also have some great questions from you that I'm looking forward to answering. Thank you so much for sending in your questions, everybody. And later in the live, we have a special gift, so stick around for that. Also, I just want to remind everybody that these lives are recorded and you can access today's live and all the other lives on our YouTube channel. So you can sit back, and also on our website, Nick? Yeah, also on our website. So you can sit back and relax and enjoy our time together. You don't need to take notes because you'll always have access to everything, okay? I am intending that every one of you will be inspired today and learn something that you never knew before, making you even more powerful to have your best life. So now let's go on the time machine and go back to September 9th, 2004. So let me just set the scene of that year, which you would have heard in the trailer. It really all began with my father dying suddenly on March the 1st in 2004. And it was just shocking, really shocking. And as my parents was love at first sight, and they just had the best love affair I have ever seen. They were madly in love with each other. And so when my father died suddenly, it was just the rug was pulled from underneath all of us. Also, in that year, I was in Australia, I had a production company there, and we were making 6 episodes, 6 films for a television station on, can you believe, of all things, unsolved murders. And all of these things played a part in what would happen on September the 9th, 2004. So this was a really tough subject. We were dealing with the families, we were dealing with police evidence, photographs. It was really way too much for us when I think back on it all. But we did it just the same. There were psychics involved in this show, and I did learn some things with psychics. I didn't really believe in psychics before, we made these shows, but one thing I did realise was the things that they would sense was really law of attraction in action, and I only realised that later on. So I was sleeping on Edit Suite floors. It was really, really tough year, and I was in grief. And my sisters were in grief, and my mother was in terrible grief. So this leads to the day of the 9th of September 2004, and it was at 9:30 at night, and I had 2 phone calls back to back. One was my accountant saying that we'd gone over budget and I was going to lose everything and be broke in 30 days. And I hung up, and it was hard lines then. I hung up the phone, and the phone like rang, just like immediately again, and it was my mother grief-stricken. And so I talked to my mother and sort of reassured her and helped her feel better, and hung up the phone from her. And then I can remember I walked out onto my balcony. I was living in an apartment in Melbourne. I walked out to my balcony and I absolutely collapsed. I'm just feeling emotional thinking about it. I just had no idea how to fix these things. A lot of people relied on me for their jobs, and I was overwhelmed. Like my whole life, I would just fix everything, but I couldn't fix this. I couldn't fix the grief that my mother was experiencing, and what could I do in 30 days? I was going to lose everything. So as I was weeping on the balcony because my oldest daughter was home and I didn't want her to see me, she came out. She did see me, and she came out and asked me what's wrong, and I said, oh, it's just some things have upset me. She disappeared, and she came back with this photocopied book, all grubby, with a bulldog clip on it, and she said to me, read this, it'll help. And she handed it to me, and the weirdest thing is, in this moment, I walked, because it was dark outside, I walked inside, I sat on the edge of the sofa, and I started to read it. I don't know, something just moved me. And I've mentioned this before, but I so remember the tears falling on the paper and the ink running as I was reading it. That was 9:30 at night, and by 11 o'clock I had finished reading that book. It was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, 100 years old, and my entire life had changed. I just realised that everything I believed about life was the complete opposite to the way that it worked. And so I went from absolute despair to like exhilaration, like a sense of incredible freedom. And I went into my daughter and I said to her, have you read this? And she said, yes. Why? And I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is incredible. And she said that her dad, which was my ex-husband, had given it to her. And I eventually asked him, had he read it? And he said, yes. Why? But they didn't see in it what I saw in it that night. And there were just, I understood so much more than the words in that book, I have to say. I could barely sleep. And for the next 3 months, I researched non-stop. I read everything of Wallace Wattles, looking for his mentor, found his mentor, then I read everything of his mentor, and then found that person's mentor, and then read everything of that person's mentor, and that's how I went back through time. So that's kind of sums up that night. Now, I want to tell you The Science of Getting Rich, and I want to give you some thoughts about The Science of Getting Rich. We have got The Science of Getting Rich book free that you can download on our website, thesecret.tv. So let me share some things with you. You know what? It's the whole of The Secret was not contained in this book. This was, for me, a glimmer. And okay, so here is what he said. There is a thinking stuff from which all things made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. A person must form a clear and definite mental image of the things he wishes to have, to do, or to become, and he must hold this mental image in his thoughts while being deeply grateful to the Supreme that his desires are granted to him. So basically, he is saying that if you look at all of the space in the entire universe, and remembering that our bodies are also full of space, that space is ready to form material things, and you just have to impress a thought on that thinking stuff space, as he calls it, and it will manifest. Then he goes on to say in the book, he says that you need to think in a certain way. And it's just the terminology of like 100 years ago, because thinking in a certain way means to think about what you want and not what you don't want. And I'm just putting it to you really simply. The other thing he talks about in the book is acting in a certain way. And what that means is to act in accordance with your thought of what you want. So don't let your actions contradict what you want. It also means to give more use value than the money you're receiving. And that's kind of important, that we give more than the money we're receiving, because it enables us, he says, to become bigger than the place we're currently in. And he says that when you're bigger than the place you're currently in, the universe has to move you to bigger things. He talks about how to use the will, and he's not talking about how to use the will like using the will to manifest something. No, it's to use your will on yourself, that you make sure that you think in a certain way and act in a certain way. So think about what you want and act in accordance with what you want. He also makes the point to be creative and not competitive. And why does he say that? He says that if you're competitive, it means you believe in lack, that there's not enough to go around. And of course, there's plenty to go around for everyone, no matter what your senses might tell you, and no matter what they say in the world. It's not true. He also talks about advanced person, and an advanced person means to do, I really kind of like this. I think I probably did this back then, but it means that every time you complete a task in the day, to acknowledge the fact that you completed a task. Well done, I finished that. And I can see how that would really help a lot with law of attraction. So that was one of the things he said. The next practice he gives, I definitely did. And I did it for years. It is the impression of increase. And what that is you impress increase mentally on absolutely every single person you come into contact with. And I can remember I used to walk down the street on a Saturday morning in Melbourne, and it would be packed, and I would be impressing increase on every single person that I saw. And so wherever I flew, wherever I was, I would look at that person and I would imagine and basically be asking for more life, more abundance, more health for that person. So that was a really brilliant practice. And then his biggest message of all, and the biggest chapter in the book, is gratitude. And Wallace Wattles says that gratitude is the conduit by which you receive your manifestation. So that sort of sums up the book. I love the book because, of course, it ended up by being the book that totally changed my life. It wasn't the only one. I read thousands of books. I did so much research, but it was the one that lit the flame inside of me to want to know the truth. So Okay, so just before we dive into the Q&A, this is the perfect time for me to talk about our special gift. If you haven't already, sign up for the Sacred Scrolls before next Monday, September the 30th, 2024, I'm going to say, because these are up for a long time. Because in Tuesday's email, you will receive a link to a free audiobook of The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, produced by the Secret team with an introduction from me. And the team are adding the link to the Secret Scrolls in the chat now and in the description box on YouTube. So that if you haven't signed up for the Secret Scrolls, and look, can I just say, the Secret Scrolls are great to keep you on track. Okay, that's always full of wisdom and knowledge, and it just helps to keep you on track. And you know what? I want to tell you that when you open the scrolls, that message in there is the perfect message that you needed to hear in that very moment. Okay, by law of attraction. So, okay. So.
If you already signed up to the scrolls, you'll automatically get it.
Okay, and Nick's telling me that if you're already signed up to the scrolls, because it's probably a whole lot that are saying I am already, you will automatically get the link to download the audio of The Science of Getting Rich for free. Okay, so now let's go to questions. And Keesar from India asks, when you first found out about the law of attraction, did you believe it completely, or did you think that it might be fake? I knew it was the truth. I had no doubt. I just knew it. Oh gosh, it was like I'd always known it, but I'd forgotten it. And I know a lot of people experience that when they first discovered the secret for themselves in their lives. They're like, I felt like I knew this all along, but I'd forgotten it. And so I totally knew it was not fake. I knew it was the truth, and I knew it was how life works in the physical realm. Brian from South Carolina. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody, for all the questions. When did you have the epiphany that this was something that would change the world in a major way? I had that epiphany probably in the next couple of days after discovery, after that night of the 9th of September, because I sat down and I just began to think about my family, all of my friends, everything on television, the news, everything, the way people spoke. And I realized that the majority of people did not know this. They didn't know that their thoughts created their life. And that their mind was that powerful that when they gave their attention to thoughts, that they were creating exactly the content of those thoughts. So that was when I realized. And also when I asked my daughter, have you read this? And she was like, yes, sure. But it didn't hit her. She didn't see the truth of it in the way that I did, and nor did my ex-husband. Of course, they do now, but at that time they didn't. So yes, it was pretty soon after I discovered it that, and then there was just a fire inside of me that I have to share this with the world, and if you remember, I had an accountant who said I'd be buzzed in 30 days. Well, the only thing was, guess what? I had the secret now, and I knew what to do. And so I was not broke in 30 days. Okay, so Don in USA. Hi, Rhonda. When you began this journey, did you ever feel stuck or hopeless, like your dreams were impossible to attain, and there was no way things could improve or get better? And if so, how did you get out of it? And thank you for all that you do. I never felt that way. I never felt that way. And I want to say to you that those thoughts that you put forward, they're not true, they're lies. Your dreams are totally possible for you and for every single person. And everything improves and gets better for everyone. No matter what your senses might be saying to you, this is the truth. So absolutely everything is possible. And Lynn, so take that, Don, and just change your life. Okay, Lynn from Cambridge. Did you ever doubt The Secret would work? Nope. I never doubted it. I never, ever doubted it. Like, I had such an interesting journey because I was trying to make this film with hardly any money coming in. And so my biggest task in the whole production of The Secret was to change a lack consciousness, which I had been gifted from family and society, into an abundant consciousness. And that's probably the case for a lot of you too, to change your consciousness. When you change your consciousness, everything changes. So, but I had that hurdle to overcome while we were making The Secret, and eventually I did overcome it. But I never doubted The Secret would work because there was just everything manifesting around me all of the time for what we needed to make this film. So, Dulcie from Texas, where can I look to go deeper into The Secret origins? You can look into the ancient religions and philosophies, and also the New Thought leaders from 100 years ago. I've read all of these, and these are just a little tiny soupçon of the teachers that I loved. Joseph Murphy, people like Joseph Murphy, William Walker Atkinson, Charles Harnell, Judge Thomas Troward, Robert Collier, Charles Fillmore, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Genevieve Baron, I loved her, and there are hundreds more. So you can start with all of those, and then let me talk to you about the religions, because Abby from Iowa says, did ancient religions know about The Secret? Yes, ancient Egyptian religions knew about The Secret. Now, here we go. Zoroastrianism, I got it. Hinduism, Sufism, Buddhism. And then there are other ancient philosophies such as Martinism, Rosicrucian, alchemy. I mean, the Emerald Tablet, which is considered to be around 5,000 years old, says on it, as above, so below. As it is above, so it is below. Right? As within, so without. So right there is The Secret, right there. And that's on the Emerald Tablet 5,000 years ago. So, I mean, those words are it's just incredible. So all of those ancient Egyptian religion, the ancient Egyptian mystery schools taught this knowledge, and beyond this knowledge, but taught this knowledge. Shweta from India, how were you able to determine only positive thoughts and not negative thoughts, as you've mentioned in your videos? And how can we manifest the good, peaceful mental health now? Look, I was determined and diligent, Shweta. I was totally awake and aware of my thoughts. My whole life was resting on the thoughts that I thought. Nothing was more important, is more important for anybody. But each person has to realise that for themselves. So when you get to that point, when you do realise that, you will automatically watch every thought as though your life depended on it. Next question, why is it called The Secret when it's not a secret? It was a secret. For the last 2,000 years, very few people knew the truth of how life works in the physical realm. This knowledge was coveted, hidden, suppressed, and people paid vast sums of money for it. It was a secret. until we released the knowledge to the world. Then millions, hundreds of millions of people knew about it. Jesse from Florida, how long has the secret been around? When did manifestations appear? The secret has been around for as long as time, since time began. It's a law governing our mind and material forms, and it's always been. It's never not been. Joan from Georgia, how did you manifest the secret at such a low time in your life? This is a brilliant question. And Valerie from France asks a similar question. But before discovering the secret, you had lost everything. You were very sad and you saw no way out. Then your daughter gave you a book and it was a revelation. My question is this. At that time, you had negative thoughts, but the positive still came to you. How do you explain this? So Joan from Georgia and Valerie from France, just the most brilliant question, because no one's ever asked me that before. And I contemplated that for years. And I do know the answer to it. And what's really interesting is this. The teachers in the Secret documentary, each one of them hit rock bottom. One was living, I think Bob Proctor was living in a phone booth. Joe Vitale was living on the streets. John D. Martini was homeless when they discovered this. So there was something about hitting rock bottom. And then I thought about people suffering from addiction and how when they hit rock bottom, they can have the epiphany that they want to be free and they turn it all around. And so I wanted to work out how did this happen, because you're right, it seems like a contradiction with the law of attraction, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Because when you hit rock bottom, all resistance in your body has gone. Every bit of resistance. And you were just like this open channel. And I often described it as I was so much in despair that night on the balcony that I felt like my ego jumped on a horse and rode the heck out of there because it couldn't stand the degree of suffering that I was feeling. And in so many ways, that's what happened, because I let go of all resistance. The ego and the mind, which couldn't solve the huge problems that I faced, disappeared. And when they disappeared, in came, how shall I describe it? Divinity. In came infinite intelligence. In came who we really are. In came just everything that we all want and dream about. And so that's how that happened. All resistance was gone. And you know, if you think of something that you want to manifest, and it does not matter what it is, like it could be $1 million, and you have zero resistance. Zero resistance means that you not only believe you're going to get it, you know you're going to get it. It would manifest instantly. Yeah, resistance. So, Luna from England, B.K. Shivani, I've not heard of B.K. Shivani, in her talks advises to repeat affirmations daily until it manifests. In your book, The Secret, you mentioned how you held intention meetings every day to affirm and visualize for your book, The Secret. But in one of your Q&A sessions, you say only affirm or ask once. So I'm confused. Should I ask the universe what I want once, or should I visualize the end outcome every day? And then she says, is asking for what you want the same as affirmations? No, asking for what you want is different from affirmations. So let's just put that one aside. So here is the thing. By rights, you should only need to ask once, okay? You should only need to visualize once. and then it will manifest. Here's the tricky part though. We often cancel out what we've asked for or what we've visualized by having the thought, where is it? It's not here yet. How long is it going to take? The moment you have any one of those thoughts, you just cancelled out your visualization and you cancelled out what you asked for. So you see, by rights, you should only ask once. If you had total control of your thoughts and there were no doubtful thoughts, you could let it go and just know it would be coming to you. But if you have doubt, then you should be doing it more often. But then if you're doing it it's really tricky, you have to feel yourself. Because if you're doing it every day, then it might feel like you don't believe you've got it, right? So, but I hope that helps you. I hope that helps solve that confusion. Tonvi from India, Rhonda, I understand when the mind is speaking, but how do I understand my intuition? How do I function from intuition? Intuition is a gut feeling, right? And it comes from beyond the mind. And you know when you have a gut feeling about something, you must have had that in your life. We all get it. We all have these times where we have this gut feeling. It might be a gut feeling about a person or a situation or a place, but it's when you know something, but you don't know how you know it. And you just have this gut feeling about it, okay? That's what intuition is. That's the closest thing I can tell you to intuition. And I can tell you that in my book Hero, where I interviewed all people that against all odds became incredibly successful in the world, and they did it from nothing and no way and nothing. Every single one of them did it through intuition, right? Running huge companies make all their decisions through intuition, right? So, and that was how we made The Secret film as well. It was through intuition. Every decision we made we felt that decision, and it was intuition. Okie dokie. Safi from Ireland, what is inspired action? Is money and being rich in money the real goal of The Secret? Inspired action is when you're moving to receive what you ask for. That is inspired action. And the real goal of The Secret is not about money. It is sharing the knowledge that you can have, be, or do anything you want by following its principles, whatever that might be. But thank you so much, Safi from Ireland. Ibrahim from Pakistan. I want to live an extraordinary life where I'm right now is not 0.1% close to where I want to be. Law of Attraction, don't listen to him saying that. I read the book and it has ignited a new hope for me, which thrills me. But sometimes I fall back into doubt again. Can you please tell me how to strengthen my faith into what I'm visualizing, which is success, abundance, joy to a level where I know it's going to happen, and no doubt with what I'm believing and visualizing. So. Let me see. This is a big, long question, and I just don't want to... he wants to believe in the impossible, okay? So, your faith, your believing, your knowing is on the higher frequencies of happiness. It's up there. Doubt is way down here. Doubt is a negative frequency, and faith and believing and knowing that it's going to manifest is right up around the same happiness, same frequency as happiness. So you need to get yourself happy is what I tell everyone. Life is so good when you're happy, and everything you want is on that frequency, and there'll be no one that bothers you on those frequencies. He was talking about people bothering him that have a weaker mentality, but no one will bother you on those frequencies. They won't come into your experience. Law of attraction won't allow them. So when you're in doubt, you're asking questions, where is it, where is it, where is it? You weigh down, understand, you weigh down in a negative frequency. Little bit by little bit, you want to get yourself better. You want to watch your thoughts. You want to think better thoughts, okay? Isabel from Spain. I'm in a relationship that makes me truly happy the way I never thought possible. I have found my person. There is one area, though, where we often clash, and usually it is me who unwittingly creates a situation in which he feels bad or disrespected. It's not my intention to make him feel that way, but we end up by arguing and being in conflict. So, conflict and arguing are way down on low frequencies, and that cannot happen unless you're down there. So, the way to not be repeating the same fight over and over again is to consistently get yourself onto a higher frequency and stay there. And if you do that, law of attraction ensures that you are nowhere near the conflict frequency and it won't come into your life. Again, gratitude is an amazing way to get yourself on a higher frequency and up near happiness. Okay, this is kind of a big message for everybody. Yeah. Kim from Australia. My question has been prompted basically by something I saw as quoted by you as I was reading the preamble to the forthcoming television screening, and that is, why is it a God-given right, especially if I do not believe in God as such? Does that then forbid the power of the secret to work for me? Kim, I can put it another way for you if you want. It's your birthright. Does that feel better? It doesn't matter whether you believe or don't believe in the secret. A law is a law. And physical laws work all the time. Gravity works whether you believe it or not, right? So let's say I don't believe in gravity, and you walk off a ledge. And the laws of physics, they work all the time. That's how we can fly in planes. Laws are immutable. So it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It is working on our thoughts, on our mind, 24/7. Yeah? 24/7. Which means we can't even get lax about what we're saying, or we just can't. It's just not worth it. Callie in Australia, there is one thing that I've been asking and believing, but it's been many years. My dream has been to always live at the beach, to be able to wake up and do morning beach walks, fishing and swimming. I know it will happen, but how do I keep the hope? I receive lots of small things, but the costly things haven't arrived yet. In your case, Kelly, and this is what I was kind of referring to before, she's been doing this for years, right? It's time to let it go. The asking over and over again is saying you don't have it. So you need to allow the universe to fulfill your dream. And just let it go. Get on with your life and give it no more thought. Then the universe has a chance to move people, circumstances and events to achieve what you want. So visualize it one more time in a different way and then let it go completely. Let it go. Okay. Umar from Pakistan. We have all experienced something similar to the law of attraction while growing up, yet it's always been patchy and never worked 100%. Do you think we are better manifestors as children? Yes, absolutely. Because children don't have any resistance to receiving what they want. Children just like expect to get what they want. So they have no resistance. So, yep, better as children. Then we grow up and we start to get a whole lot of resistance. So, all right. Okay. So,
I don't know if you want to answer a couple of the questions that have come in.
oh yes, where are they? We've got some questions up here.
That was from Kerry on YouTube.
Okay. Kerry on YouTube says, I've read The Secret and she's in the middle of reading The Greatest Secret. Good for you. I practice the principles of The Secret. I completely understand being aware, but can't feel being in awareness. Help. You know what? It doesn't matter. Just keep bringing yourself back to awareness, back to awareness. And the more that you do that, the more that you remind yourself, am I aware? Am I aware? Just keep doing that as much as you can, as much as you can remember during the day. You will get to a point where awareness is so present and so kind of, its silence is so deafening that you'll be like, how did I miss that? Right? So just keep, finish the book, of course, because there are lots of amazing practices in the book. But yeah, just keep asking, am I aware? Am I aware? Don't worry if you cannot see awareness. It just doesn't matter. You will get there, I promise. And you're on the right track. It's really amazing. Right. Do you want me to do the next one?
Yeah, and someone on YouTube wanted to know your favourite gratitude practice from the magic.
My favourite gratitude practice from the magic is remember the magic. And so it's the one where you remember from the day before. And you remember and you go through and you remember all of the things you're grateful for that happened from the day before. That is my favourite practice. And I think it's almost the last or the second last practice. But yeah. So, okay.
Also, just a reminder that people have been asking, we've put the sign up for the scrolls
Yes.
link in all of the comments, but we'll also be putting it in the YouTube replay.
Okay.
And that's the sign up for the scrolls so that people can receive the free audiobook of the Science of Getting Rich.
Okay. So the links are there for you to sign up for the Secret Scrolls so that before next Monday, the 30th of September 2024, so that you will get the link for the audiobook of The Science of Getting Rich. So yeah, and then also you get reminder, it keeps you on track. I mean, it's really, that was the very reason why we started the scrolls, was to really help. Okay, we have, I don't know how long we've been going, but I had some really good ones. And
You want to have a look for another one? You want to do one more?
I wanted to, there was, guys, I just love all your questions, and I just want to, oh yeah, I'm going to just do a couple more. America from New York City. Wow, America, great name. The Bible verse, Mark chapter 11, verse 23 to 24, is what The Secret is all about. When you were doing your research, were you aware of this scripture, or did you discover this reference after the fact? I definitely did discover Mark's verse you referred to, and also other verses from the Bible that when I was doing research for The Secret. And I went through, many holy books, and found evidence of The Secret in the majority of them. So, but yeah, it's great that you spotted that because, yeah. So Frederick from Florida, everywhere I go, I feel happy since learning The Secret. I haven't been feeling like this consistently, but this is the first time ever where I've been continuously happy for a month plus. But everywhere I go, people are so miserable. I try to say hi, start conversations, but they all seem like they don't even want to be alive. Any tips? You know, this is a really interesting, I wanted to say this one because by rights, when you're really happy, you should be surrounded by happy people when you're feeling happy. Law of attraction should be putting happy people in front of you. Do you know, if you hear that little noise out there, that's my granddaughter Willow, who's 6 months old, and she's making all these noises. So maybe you're not as happy, maybe you need to get happier, but let's solve this. Let's solve this right now. And here is your mantra, here is your affirmation, and I want to share it with you, and I hope that it's great for other people too. Every morning, you can say this at night tomorrow, you can say it in the morning, I would do it twice. Today, wherever I go, whoever I'm with and whatever I'm doing, I'm going to look for happiness and joy. Okay? Today, wherever I go, whoever I'm with and whatever I'm doing, I'm going to look for happiness and joy. So...
Speaking of happiness and joy...
Oh my God!
Happiness and joy for 20 years.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my
I'm going to tilt it up so we can show everyone.
Oh my gosh, look at that, guys. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Wow.
Tilt it up a little bit, Hayden.
Yeah. Oh, it's so ready. You're kidding me, right?
Put another secret book under there.
Oh my gosh, it's really heavy. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I put it here, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Shoo! It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of you. You know,
Everyone's saying congratulations.
the secret would. The secret wouldn't have done anything without all of you who were so ready to hear it and with your minds open. It's the most important thing in our life is to keep our mind open to everything. And because of all of you, just millions and millions and millions of people around the world, I am just so utterly grateful to every single one of you. So thank you so much for joining me on this live. I really hope it's been helpful for you. Do you feel inspired? Did you discover something today that you didn't know before? Has there been anything in this life that has helped you? If so, give me a yes. Remember to sign up for the Secret Scrolls if you haven't already, so you receive the link to the free audiobook, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Details are in the chat and the description box below. We will be back in a couple of weeks for another live. Until then, may the joy be with you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining the Secret Live Q&A. We are so grateful for your support. For even more life-changing content on the power of manifestation, make sure to subscribe to the Secret YouTube channel and connect with us on your favourite social media platform. Ready to dive deeper into the Secret teachings? Visit us at thesecret.tv to explore further. May the joy be with you.